Hello, everybody. So I can't see anyone yet. And it's okay if you want to leave your screens off. Fine. Hey, Shannon.
Hey mate, can you hear me?
I can. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hey Aaron,
Hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm well. I'm well. Okay, so we might have a few other people arriving soon, but I just want to invite you to maybe just take a few breaths, feel the surface underneath you. Welcome, Mel, Sue, Jody, Mars. And I've so forgotten your name. I'm so sorry. You've got Kempsey Computers on your screen.
Sorry, and this too. I'm Stephen Edwards, Steph.
Steph, that's
Yeah,
right. Thank you, Steph. I do remember you. I just forgot your name.
yeah. I don't know why it says Kempsey Computer.
Ah, so just as we're arriving, I'm just going to invite you all to just bring your awareness to your body. Maybe you've had a busy Sunday. Maybe you haven't, but just allowing the breath to deepen down to the diaphragm. And if it feels okay, you might even close your eyes for a moment. Hi, Kyle.
Hey, how are you?
Well, thank you. Just
Nice.
closing your eyes, breathing. And almost as if you could envisage your day floating around you as just things, objects in space floating around you, and the people, the events, the different things you've done, and just allowing them to gently drop down to the floor as you bring more and more of your awareness into your body. Hello, Luke. Okay, so as you continue to breathe, I'm going to be talking a bit today about making friends with yourself, cultivating curiosity about the Innerverse. Um, I'm going to be doing a fair bit of talking, but I'm open to questions. I'm open to insights if they come for anyone to share. But unless you want to share, can I just encourage everyone to put their microphones on mute, if that's okay? And if you have a question and I haven't noticed a hand up, there is a little raise hand symbol at the bottom, and you can touch that button and I'll call on you. But there's no need for you to speak or do anything. There's no requirement. Okay. So thank you all for joining today. Thank you for giving an hour of your Sunday evening to bring your curiosity to this space. Some of you already know me, and some of you don't. I'm a local mental health professional in Bellingen. I work as a mental health social worker and a psychotherapist, seeing clients in a private practice. And I've been doing that for about 4 years. And prior to that, I worked at a drug and alcohol rehab. So I've been working a lot with clients, many, many thousands of hours, exploring what are we? What's really going on in the human condition? It's been a question that's driven me for a long time. And I've explored a lot of different things along the time, but there's a few there's a few aspects I wanted to share this evening. One of the key characteristics of the human condition, as many of us know, is the notion of that they say in Buddhism of suffering. This notion of a challenge that we don't necessarily feel comfortable in our own skin, or our mind is quite often turning over, quite often reaching for something to help me feel better, something to stop me feeling the way I am. And I kind of see this a bit like we're often playing chemistry lab, whether it's through substances, behaviors, movements, any kind of thing that we might do to change our inner state, we're essentially playing chemistry lab. Even if we're not taking substances, we're playing with our neurohormones all the time to change our state. And there's two basic directions that we're going to move in when we try and change state. And one is, of course, towards and one is away. We can call it attraction, aversion, push, pull. And this is quite normal, of course. We need to keep ourselves safe. We need to reach for the things we want. But when it becomes what we might say pathological, meaning it's kind of automatic and it's happening all the time on certain topics, it becomes a bit of a problem for many of us. And we've all got our own expression of this. And so what I'm going to be talking about today is how to work with this dynamic within us, within ourselves, by understanding some of the dynamics of what's going on within us, as well as how to work with it practically. So the first half of the title, Making Friends with Yourself, I tend to find not many people are very friendly with themselves. Some are, but for many people, there's quite a inner turmoil going on, an inner war, an inner argument, all kinds of stuff going on. And it's funny, the title Making Friends with Yourself is a little misleading in a way, because in my experience, we have many parts of us, many selves in a way, many aspects of us that have very different opinions and very different approaches to life. And they can really disagree on what it is we're supposed to do in any given moment or how we're supposed to do life. So I know from my own journey, when I feel uncomfortable emotions, I want to numb them out. And when I feel comfortable emotions, I want more of them. I want to maximize them. I want it more and more. And maybe you can relate with this. We've all got our own way of numbing out, from very benign ways to just, picking up your phone and looking through socials or looking at movies or whatever, to pretty extreme ways where it's much more self-harming through substances or self-harm itself. All of them are on a spectrum, essentially, of playing chemistry lab, trying not to feel whatever I'm feeling, trying to get rid of this experience, to change it in some way. And a lot of the wisdom traditions over thousands of years, many of the teachings are about how to stay here, how to stop running away, how to stay in this present moment no matter what. You've probably all read various teachings from very, very wise beings who talk about this exact kind of thing. And it's the most simple teaching in the world, just be here now. And yet, in my experience, one of the hardest to really practice, one of the hardest, because I'm regularly wanting to check out. And when I see many clients with all kinds of different presentations, whether it's alcohol, whether it's self-harm, whether it's extreme anxiety, whatever it is, the problem that someone presents with usually isn't the primary problem. It's usually the secondary or the third problem or even the fourth problem that they've been compensating for something deeper. In the 12-step tradition, they through AA and NA, they talk about recovery. And recovery is this process of reconnecting to the source, reconnecting to something deeper within us. But in my experience, me and many of my clients will be outsourcing connection all the time, outsourcing in this idea of, sorry, hi Lisa, outsourcing in this idea that this thing's going to do it for me. This is going to help regulate me, and then it does for a moment, and then I crash again, and the next thing helps for a short moment, and then I crash again. And so what I'm really talking about here is the practices of learning to come home, learning to recognize, when have I left myself? Where am I numbing out, or where am I leaving through substances, through behaviors, through all kinds of things? How do I recognize that? And how do I practice coming home with my awareness to the present moment through my body into this moment? And it's hard. It's really hard, but it's quite possible, and it gets easier in time. I like to think of the nervous system like a musical instrument. And in a way, when life throws me a curveball, I go off key. My nervous system gets pushed out of tune, And I'm forever trying to find how to get it back into tune. And so we've all got ways of doing this, but there's two essential paths that we do. One is the automated path that we reach for the old things that I've already talked about. And then the other one is the sort of what you might call the personal development path, or the getting to know yourself and the healthy path, the thriving path. And these are the things like how to regulate your sleep. It's all the kind of basic stuff, how to regulate your breath, how to do all the movement, connect with people, all the healthy stuff that we don't tend to reach for when we don't feel good. We tend to go for the lowest common denominator. Can anyone relate to that? Going to the lowest common denominator when you're not feeling good? Because we all know the right thing to do, but how do we actually get and do it? Like, if I was to ask any one of you, what are the things that you do that are good for you? You could probably reel off five, six, seven things. Who are the healthy people to hang out with? You could probably tell me all those people. But when you're not feeling good, how often do you reach for those things? And this is that thing about making friends with ourselves, because it's almost like, and I witness this in many of my clients, and I've witnessed it in my own journey for myself. It's almost like a part of us doesn't quite want us to, in a way. Like there's this kind of, no, I know what's going to do the thing. It's that drink, it's that movie, it's that scrolling. That's gonna do the thing. There's almost this sense of relief in it, even though we know it's not. We know it's not ultimately. And these are parts of us that have got stuck in time. Because when I was 5, when I was 8, when I was 12, whatever the age was, I came up with coping strategies to deal with whatever was going on in my family, in my school, in my community, in my church, whatever you did as a child. And those coping strategies kind of become loops, and we keep repeating them over and over again because they worked when we were kids. The thing is, we're still doing the same thing now as we're adults. We're still reaching for roughly the same thing in a slightly different guise as adults. And so the awareness comes to looking at that, understanding, how old do I feel when I'm reaching for that thing? And I wonder if you take a moment right now just to think of what your vices are, your primary vices that you reach for. I'm not going to invite you to share with the group right now. I just want you to share with yourself maybe your top 2 or 3 vices. It could be substances, it could be behaviors, it could be isolation, it could be checking out, it could be all kinds of things. For some people, it's working way harder. For some, it's working way less. Everyone's very different with this. But when you reach for one of those behaviors, if you back up just before you reach for the thing, whatever it is, whatever you do, what was happening just before? And nearly always, whenever I break this down with my clients, like a client might say, I don't know what happened. I just fucking cracked open a beer and off I went. I don't know what happened. But if we slow it down and we go minute by minute beforehand, there's always stuff that led up to it. Always. There's always stuff that happened in the day or stuff that happened just before. And that stuff created a feeling in the body. And this is the kind of really obvious yet seemingly invisible thing of the human condition. Everything we experience is through the body. And yet, so few of us are trained in how to actually listen to what's going on in the body, how to respond to it appropriately, and how to work with it in the most healthy way. Some of us are lucky enough to have grown up in families that taught us that, but I certainly wasn't one of them, and many of my clients weren't. And so when I ask clients like, how old do you feel when you reach for that beer? How old do you feel when you do that thing that you do? Quite often the answer is, I feel like I'm 14. I feel like I'm 8. I feel like I'm 3. And it's not an exact science, but I think there's a lot of truth in that. That we kind of become a child. We lose our cognitive intelligence and we just revert to, well, children don't have a prefrontal cortex active. They don't have the capability to think consequentially. And when we reach for whatever it is we do to check out from our body, our intelligence can go, yeah, I know that that's not going to be a good thing. But we don't have that consequential thinking in that moment. We just have the, yeah, fuck it. I'll just do the thing. I'll just pick up my phone and off I go. I'll pick up the brew or whatever your gig is. And so there's an opportunity for a pattern interrupt, but it takes a lot of awareness and importantly, a lot of commitment. Because what I find is people only come to my office when the pain got great enough. And that's usually when people are reaching out and they want therapy now. And I got a waiting list, as many therapists do. And many people are like, oh, fuck, I need to see someone now. And I get it. But it's because the pain got so great until it was like a breaking point. It's like, fuck, now I need help right now rather than actually dealing with it in time. Pain is the greatest teacher. It makes us really look at ourselves. What am I doing? How am I creating the conditions that are doing this? Because on some level I am. I mean, sometimes people are in really shit positions that it's, for example, DV, where they're a victim in a DV situation and someone else is literally harming them. And that's a slightly different thing. But a lot of the time we're creating our own harm. And so I'm curious if anyone wants to share if you experience resistance or difficulty in feeling your own body, or at least turning towards it and noticing what am I feeling and articulating that to yourself. And no one has to share, just an invitation. Does anyone find it easy to tune into their body on a regular basis, to notice sensation, emotion, thought, impulse? To be able to be present with that and work with it like a skilled craftsman or woman over time. Does anyone find that easy?
I'll speak to that. Yeah, I find it very difficult to feel in the body, and I'd really actively try, but I find it very hard to feel in the body that the sensation to identify the sensation. I'm working on it, but I do find it
Yeah.
very difficult.
Yeah. Have you found it's got easier over time as you've worked on it, Shannon?
Um, Not possibly, but I still feel like I have a fair way to go in it. I
Yeah.
think having awareness of it is probably an important step, and I'm interested in doing it. I just noticed that I have that weird aversion to not being able to feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Shannon. I really appreciate you sharing. And it's funny because in order to be able to feel it, we can only do it when it's arising and when we've got the impulse to shut down or do something that isn't so good for us necessarily, because the rest of the time it's just sitting in our unconscious. And the one thing about our unconscious mind is it doesn't really want to be seen. It's just kind of what Jung called the shadow. It's that part of us that is just hidden from us in many ways. And we only become aware of it when it's present right here. And it can only be present through sensations, emotions, thoughts, and impulses, pretty much, as far as I can ascertain. And then it comes impulses. So sensations are physical sensations. We can say weight, tension, pressure, nausea, these kind of very physical based descriptions of what's going on in the body. Emotions are single words with no narrative: sadness, anger, fear, frustration. And they're kind of a description of a movement of energy in some ways that we can all identify with. Thoughts are pretty obvious, they have narrative. Often we blend thoughts and feelings, which is a challenge because a thought you can really challenge, whereas a feeling is an exact thing that we can point to. And an impulse arises from all of these. If these are uncomfortable or comfortable, I tend to have an impulse, and the impulse is push it away or pull it towards me, one or the other. And it's at the impulse point where I can catch it. So, as Shannon shared, he finds it difficult to feel inside the body. And actually, many of my clients do. Many people find it so difficult to feel inside their body. And yet, it's my body's emotions and sensations that are driving the whole show, or rather, my lack of relationship with it. All of the challenges I got in my life is because, not all the challenges, let me take that back. Many of the challenges that I am perpetuating in my life, there's lots of stuff outside of my control, but many of the challenges that I perpetuate in my life are because I have no relationship with my body. So it's just kind of playing on automatic pilot. And anyone who's had an addiction problem knows that automatic pilot well. When you say, I'm definitely not going to drink tonight, and 5 o'clock rolls around and ka-chung, off you go again. It's like I'm a different person comes the evening. And there's something happening. There's something happening. And if we can slow it down, if we can cultivate curiosity, and curiosity I find is an incredible solvent. Resistance is the glue, curiosity is the solvent. When I resist it, when I'm calling myself a shit cunt, when I'm having all of these really, oh, I'm such a terrible person, I shouldn't be doing this inner war, when I'm resisting the whole thing, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, which many people have. I actually lock it in place a lot more. I'm just going to put cement around it and put it in. But as soon as I bring curiosity to it, that starts to soften. It starts to lessen a lot more because there's always two things. There's my experience, and then there's my resistance to the experience. And the resistance always 10x's it, 20x it, always makes it worse. So as soon as I bring curiosity, I can slow down and I can go, huh, what's going on inside right now? And I invite you to bring that to your own body right now. I'm not going to invite you to share what's going on with the group, but just take a moment. Take a moment. What are you feeling? Could be as a result of what I'm saying, positive or negative, whatever you're feeling. It could be stuff that's laid over from the day. But let's start with sensation. Just noticing what sensation you're feeling, heavy or light, tensions, pressures. If you notice them, notice where they are. Almost as if you had a flashlight and you were shining it around your body, shining it on very specific areas, bringing your awareness to it. And as you find an area, maybe you find some tension, some nausea, anything at all, some heaviness, I want to invite you to take some gentle breaths as if you could breathe through that area. And if you can't find anything, if you don't feel anything, that's fine. Just note that and just take some breaths anyway. And as you breathe, see if you can notice if there's any emotion. Calm can be an emotion. Numb can be the absence of emotion, and that's relevant if that's what you're experiencing. There might be frustration, sadness, anything at all. And then if you identify an emotion or lack thereof, I want to ask you, how do you know that you're feeling that? Like, how do you experience that in sensation? So we're kind of starting to tie sensation and emotion together here. Like if you feel sadness, let's say, do you feel a heaviness in the heart? If you're feeling frustration, do you feel a tension in the jaw? If you're feeling calm, is there like a relaxed through the body? How is it for you? And it really takes a gear change because many of us live in a hyper-stimulated world. And to listen to the body is kind of slowing down a little, and it's kind of boring in a funny kind of way to begin with. Boring in the same way that if you've been eating McDonald's for many, many months, a salad is going to taste really boring. But if you push through and you continue to eat the salad, it's going to taste pretty amazing after a while. And so tuning into the body can feel like restlessness and a challenge to begin with. But if we give ourselves permission to slow down, then we can start to shift gears. And this is quite important because our hyper stimulated media saturated world kind of promotes and um, really validates hyperstimulation and dopaminergic way of living. This is this kind of striving, motivation, reward, get the thing, outsource, I'll sell you a thing, here's the next thing, here's the next thing, and this will do it, this will save you everything, or just this will entertain you, just the next, the next, the next. And this work of learning to stay here and now is kind of the opposite. It's kind of learning how to slow down with your own body to give yourself permission to stay here. If you and I were friends and I treated you like crap, we probably wouldn't be friends for very long, if at all. If we're friends and I don't listen to you and I keep talking over you and changing the subject or telling you nasty things about yourself or whatever, it's not going to go so well for our friendship. And yet, this is often what's going on inside of people a lot of the time with how they talk to themselves. Maybe some of you can relate to that. And if you're thinking, I don't have voices inside, that voice that said, I don't have voice inside is one of the voices inside. All of us have experiences of an inner realm, right? Some of us, it's way more visceral, way more like almost tangible. And some of us, it's way less tangible, but it's all there. It's still there. And we experience it in totally different ways. Some are more visual, some are more auditory, some are more kinesthetic or felt, or there can be just kind of a sentience and knowing. Everyone experiences reality differently. But there is a common experience of suffering within ourselves as we fight. And so this idea of what I'm telling you, if we were friends and I treated you like that, we wouldn't be friends for very long. Well, this is the experience for many people inside themselves. And this is the opportunity. Like, if we wanted to become friends and I was treating you like that, what would need to happen in that friendship? Probably there'd have to be some honesty to begin with. There'd have to be some honesty to say, I don't like the way you're treating me. I don't like this. And could we try it like this? And as we start to make friends with ourselves, it's about meeting the parts of ourselves that are looping from our childhood, meeting the parts of us that actually don't mean harm most of the time. They're not evil. They're just stuck. They're stuck in loops. And so we can meet them. We can learn how to meet these parts with a lot of compassion and care and start to build relationships, start to make friends. Because for many of us, when a difficult part comes up, we don't want a bar of it. We want to get rid of it as quickly as possible. But if we can bring that curiosity to whatever's arising, and it starts with sensation, emotion, thoughts, and impulses, but it can go much vaster than that as well. In almost like what we could say an anthropomorphization, which is to give something human-like qualities, an anthropomorphization of past elements of us that have literal personalities for many people inside of themselves. And we can build relationship. We can get to know these aspects of ourselves and start to nourish these relationships so that all the parts work in harmony. They all start to work with each other. And the very beginning of this, building this relationship, first of all, is wanting to do it, then getting honest, and then having strategies to build the relationship over time. And old habits can die hard sometimes. Some of those habits can come back quite hard sometimes, as people who have tried to get sober from substances know. Relapse is part of the model. But it's not about perfection. It's not about performance. It's about perseverance. It's about kindness and bringing that kindness to oneself. And kindness for some people is too high an order right now. To begin with, a stepping stone might just be, I'm just not going to be a dick to myself today. And then the next stepping stone might be, I'm just not going to say anything nasty right now. And then the next stepping stone might be, all right, maybe I might focus on one small thing that I can appreciate. And we can build through these stepping stones. Sometimes it's too tall in order to just say, be kind to yourself, right? What does that mean? How do I do that? But if I ask you to be kind to me, you know very well how to do that. If I ask you to be kind to your kids, if you've got them, you know how to do it. It comes down to giving permission to yourself. And often there's barriers in the way. And sometimes you can work through those barriers on your own. And sometimes it's useful to come and see someone else, such as myself or another professional who can help reflect back and help you get to the guts of whatever it is that's going on. Okay, I'm just going to pause there and take a breath. Just invite you to tune into your body again. And it's important to slow down, to tune into our body. I try and practice what I preach where I can. And as some of my clients know, I don't do it all the time. But to be in tune with my body and to be in tune with what my capacity is right now and where I'm at. I wonder if I might just share a little story of my own journey a little bit, which is relevant to what we're talking about. I'm, for various reasons, I became a bit of a workaholic in my adult life and what I called a doaholic. I would compulsively do, seeking validation for all kinds of reasons, right? And I would work very hard at work. I'd work very hard at home, all the things I needed to do. What I forgot to do was to actually take care of my own nervous system. I was taking care of everything around me as I saw fit, but I didn't take care of myself. In earlier life, I had addiction issues and things like that. In later life, it was more work addiction and things. And that culminated in me developing chronic fatigue and having very, very low energy a lot of the time. And as I got deeper into understanding what was going on there, I realized I had weaponized personal development. So even this work can be used to bludgeon ourselves over the head with. I had taken all the tools that I was learning and I was optimizing and maximizing them and making sure I could fit as many in the day as possible and go, 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 go. But the one tool that took me till my nervous system nearly collapsed was the medicine of rest. And as I said before, pain is a great teacher. And it's only when the pain got great enough for me did I go, oh, I actually have to stop and rest. And it's not everyone's journey to need to learn the medicine of rest, but that was the medicine I needed. And when I finally did it, it was so, so uncomfortable. I was so not used to sitting with myself, really. I could do it in meditation because there was a beginning, a middle, and an end, and I was doing something. But to actually just lie down and just be present with the body with nothing particularly to focus on in the moment, it was hell. And I actually had 2 or 3 days where I went through withdrawal symptoms, which I believe is something like an addiction to adrenaline and cortisol, which is what's happening when we're do. If you're that kind of personality who's do all the time, there's often this kind of addiction to stimulation. And afterwards, it was like I wasn't crawling out my own skin anymore, but I had to be able to sit with myself for that time. But for the longest time, I was just crawling out my skin. And the way I dealt with that was by keeping busy, keep going. That was my particular vice. Some of you may have that vice, some of you won't. You'll have different vices. But it was really hard to make friends with that part of myself that was so socially validated, so socially acceptable that I'm doing all the things, I'm taking care of so many things, but not the most important thing. And this is the point of why I want to tell you this. What's the most important thing to take care of? Anyone want to have a guess? And even if you don't say it out loud, just think in your head, what is the most important thing, really? When you get down to it, what's the most important thing? I can see you've unmuted there, Kyle. You're going to give it a go?
Well, our nervous system for one,
Beautiful.
because it's kind of our our bread and butter. Because I think all things ebb and flow from that point. Um, yeah,
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 that's it. You got it in one. Thank you so much, Kyle. That's it. It's our nervous system. And it's pretty obvious, but I'm still going to state the obvious anyway, right? Everything you ever do involves your body. And everything you experience in your body, you experience because of your nervous system. We can think of the nervous system like an electrical grid that runs through the entire body. The brain is a part of the nervous system. And so it's an electrical grid, and it's how we experience all of our senses through converting signals, wavelengths from outside of us, somehow converting that into electrical signals that our brain magically decodes, and we can make sense of all of this. I mean, it's mind-boggling, and it's been evolving for 500 million years since the advent of nervous systems, and we're 500 million years into this experiment of nervous system evolution, and it's quite phenomenal. Everything we experience is through this nervous system, and we've evolved on this planet that's rotating night and day, going around the sun with all the seasons, mostly out in the bush with predators and finding food and no fridges, no electricity. I know all this is obvious, but when we really get down to it, the needs of our bodies are actually quite simple. They're quite simple. It's the basic stuff, the sleep, the good quality food, so gut microbiome, the movement, the rest, the creative expression, the connection with loved ones. It's all the very, very simple things when we get out of our hyper-stimulated culture and take the time to slow a minute and start to take care of these things. I find a lot of clients that come to me, one of the first things I work with them in is this kind of simple evolutionary biological perspective. We have Paleolithic bodies. If we went in time machines back, I don't know, 10, 20, 30,000 years, the humans have pretty much identical bodies to us, different hairstyles and whatever, different clothes, but identical internals pretty much. But their lifestyle was so different. You go back 100,000 years, probably not so different to how we are now. But the world around us has sped up, and we're kind of being crushed in this hyper stimulated algorithm of the world. And so, if I can, and this is what I do with many clients, if I can start to honor the nervous system and what its biological imperatives are, a lot of mental health challenges, they don't necessarily get rid of them, but it starts to drain the dam to quite a degree. So they're not necessarily quite so prevalent, they're not quite so challenging. And there's a lot of things one can do to take care of the nervous system in those ways. And I go through them, and I go through each one of the major ones on the course that I'll talk a bit more about later on. We spend a week on each of them amongst many other things that we talk about. But my lived experience of the nervous system. So where did we start on this exploration together today? It was on sensation, emotion, thought, and impulse. All of those are experienced through my nervous system. If I'm not tuned to my nervous system, there's all this stuff going on that I'm not connected to at all, and it's going to run the show. It's going to run the show more often than not. And so a big part of the journey, I love this phrase. I can't even remember where I heard it. I didn't coin this, but this phrase of waking down into the body rather than waking up, which is the usual spiritual term. I love the phrase waking down because up until my early 30s, I was pretty much, or late 20s, an intellect with that just happened to have a body as an appendage attached, walking around with this intellect. And I've been on this journey of waking down into the body, learning interoception. This is this ability to perceive inside the nervous system, this ability to perceive what is going on here and be able to articulate it to oneself. Because until I can do that, I'm not going to see how I'm perpetuating my own unique brand of suffering. And each of us has our own unique brand of it. So we're making friends with the aspects of ourselves, those different loops, but we're also making friends with the visceral experience that comes up. And usually we have two buckets of emotions. The first bucket's called the emotions I like, sanctioned, good emotions. The second bucket I call the fuck it bucket. That's the bucket we want to just go, nah, don't want that. Don't like those emotions. I'm going to do whatever I can to keep away from those emotions. They're uncomfortable. And you can tell where I'm going to go with this, right? How do I get comfortable in the uncomfortable? How do I make friends with the uncomfortable, with the unsavory, with the shame, with the sadness, with the grief? with the difficult things that I feel when someone cuts me up in traffic, or someone's kid's bullying my kid, or I don't know, whatever life brings me, difficult things in life. And I experience those difficult things through my nervous system. When my kids were younger and they would, as kids do, get out a bit out of control, I used to get angry sometimes and I would shout at them. And it's nothing I'm proud of particularly. It's just the way it was. I come from a lineage of male shouters and I've been working on it a lot. But I had this epiphany one day where I realized I was shouting because I felt unsafe in that moment. I didn't know what to do and I needed to control the situation. When I slowed it right down, I could feel this deep anxiety sitting underneath it. And that immediately anger would take over. But it was only by slowing down, by making friends with that anxiety, was I able to take a breath the next time and go, I don't know what to do right now. And actually, maybe that's okay. And funny enough, when I did that, 30 seconds later, 20 seconds later, the kids resolved whatever it was that was going on themselves without me taking over and causing all kinds of pandemonium. It was that ability, first of all, to get honest with myself that, all right, it's an uncomfortable emotion. I don't like it, but I need to look at where's it coming from? And underneath it was this uncomfortable, I feel out of control and I need to control. And only once I got honest and once I start to look at it, could I get with that? And then I could be with it the next time and go, whew, I had to build the strategy ready to go. And it was hard. And I still shout occasionally. I try not to, but more often I try and take a breath and feel into what's really going on there. And it's only through making friends with the difficult emotion. So I'm just going to pause there and just see if there's any reflections or anything anyone wants to share or any questions. And if you just want to take a breath and feel your body, please do that. Every time we take a breath, every time we tune into our body, it's like doing scales on a guitar or a piano. To begin with, it's a bit clunky, but over time, muscle memory sets in. And for some people, that takes longer than others. Okay. But the more we practice, the more we get better at it. And even my clients say, I can't feel anything. I say, can you feel your feet on the floor? And usually they say, yeah, I can feel that. Can you feel the shirt on your skin? Yeah, I can feel that. Okay, so there is feeling there. We can start there. Now, I use the term cultivating curiosity about the Innerverse. The Innerverse is my term for, it sounds pretty obvious, right? But everything going on within us that for some of us can seem like a bit of a black box, just this kind of, I don't really know what's going on in there. But it's incredibly rich what's going on inside of you, not just physiologically, but psychologically and emotionally and relationally. There's so much going on there. And the more we cultivate curiosity, and I love the word cultivating, I think of cultivating a garden. It's not like we're trying to achieve a garden. We know different things grow and different things die, and there's a whole ecosystem, a synergistic ecosystem where everything kind of works together or not together, depending on the predators and different things. But there's a whole ecosystem, and a good gardener goes in, and I'm not a good gardener, but I've seen good gardeners. They go in and they know how to get everything humming beautifully, and they're so attentive and tuned in and picking this and planting that and doing this and doing that. I love it. It's beautiful. I'm not very good with gardens, but I like to use the same metaphor with working within myself. When I'm cultivating curiosity, when I'm tending to that curiosity, where do I check out? Where do I push away? Where do I go, wow, I want more of that? And how do I cultivate curiosity to go, huh, what's going on underneath that? Really? Am I uncomfortable right now? Am I trying to control this situation? Am I trying to just check out from it blindly into space? What's really going on for me? Doesn't mean the answer is going to come straight away, but it starts the exploration. And it's only when it comes up in that moment can I really be aware of what's going on for me. We can talk about it theoretically later on after the fact. And I've got methods of helping clients re-enter it in the session, but for a lot of the time, it's way better to do it in the moment if you can. Sometimes you've got a level 10 emotion and it's too much. So we just need to regulate to begin with and ask the question later on. But if you're on a level 3, level 4 intensity of emotion, maybe you can take a breath and go, wow, what's really going on here that I'm reaching for that beer or that I'm going for that doom scroll again or whatever the thing was that you told yourself you probably weren't going to do this time or you're going to try not to. One of the ones I've noticed I do a lot is picking my phone out of my pocket, probably about every minute or two to check for notifications and going, what am I doing? I'm checking again. It. I can go through little bouts like that. I don't know if anyone can identify with that one. This almost almost like a safety blanket that a child might have. Oh, just there it is again. There it is again. What's really oh, there's an anxiety going on. There's a restlessness in the body. The funny thing is, I got so many clients who are so amazing at looking what they've got going on, but so many clients have had so many things, whatever it is. Let's go with addiction for the time being, for want of an example, who have had an addiction going for a long time. When we get down to it, actually sitting with the feeling, sitting with the rising impulse of something is actually bizarrely simple. It takes a lot more effort to go and get on it for a long period of time, spend loads of money, spend loads of energy, reduce your world to the size of the addiction. That takes way more energy than to go, what am I feeling? How do I feel it? Can I breathe with it? And can I regulate myself? That is actually bizarrely simple to do, and yet so incredibly difficult at the same time. Why? Because we have those loops playing out, those unconscious loops from when we were younger. Capital T traumas and little t traumas, micro traumas. And if we haven't addressed them, they're just going to keep coming back. They think they're helping us. But that's the delusion of the human condition for all of us. We've all got it, unless we're enlightened beings. And I'm not sure I've met one yet. Maybe I have. So as we cultivate curiosity about our Innerverse, we're meeting ourselves where we're at. And we develop a nuance. We develop an ability to notice, to articulate, to soothe. And that metaphor of, like I said before, of the nervous system being a musical instrument, and when life throws you a curveball, it's like it goes out of tune. I can actually learn to tune myself pretty quickly. Not all the time. Sometimes it's really hard, but more often than not, I can learn to meet it in real time and bring it home again and again and again. And in that, I build this confidence. And I love the word confidence. It comes from the same etymological root as the another word, but it basically means to trust fully in. That's what it means, to trust fully in, to build confidence. And so to have confidence in myself is to start to really have trust in myself. And trust, it's the lifeblood of friendship. We have no friendship if we have no trust. I have no friendship with myself if I can't trust myself. And I don't just do trust like that. Trust is not a thing I can do. Trust is an outcome of a process. It's something I grow like a tree, like a plant. I can sever trust in a moment if I betray you really awfully. But trust can grow again. It can, and it can take a long time to grow, but I can do it if I'm persistent. And a gardener who really wants to make this plant grow will use all of their skill to help that plant that's been severed to grow. So if you have trouble trusting yourself in certain areas, this is the journey I'm inviting you on, to cultivate this trust through bringing curiosity to your inner realm, really paying attention. And there's lots of tools that you can use to help you along the way. Many of you have probably tried many of the tools out there. Not all tools are going to work for all people. One of my favorite ones I recommend to clients is journaling, partly because it's a brain dump. It's a way of really not just I did this today and I did that, but a real curiosity. And it comes in two parts. The yin part, the feminine kind of receptive part, is really paying attention, contemplating what's going on in here. What's really going on? And then the yang part, which is the active, emissive part, not man and woman, but feminine and masculine, which we all have within us. The yang part is the what am I going to do about this? What do I want to do about this? What kind of tools am I going to employ? How am I going to put this into practice? So I've got the contemplation, what's really going on, listening, but it's very passive on its own. So I need the active component to start making change, start actually grabbing the rudder of my boat and steering it in a direction that I value. And so I suppose on that, I'm going to segue slightly onto the course that I'm running. And I don't want this to be a sales pitch. So I'm going to talk about the course. I have no expectation of anyone signing up, although you're welcome to if it works for you. I want this to be actually a continuation of what I'm talking about right now, because the course contains a lot of these tools that we can use to pay attention to ourselves. And I want it to be useful right now rather than, hey, sign up for the course and you get all of that later on. So we start with what I call the biorhythms, and this is how we take care of the body. So how do I take care of my sleep? How do I take care of my digestion, my movement, my rest, my social, I can't remember them all now. Contemplation, how do I spend time contemplating? Each one of these, there's 8 of them in total that I cover in the course, and I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. They all help the nervous system to settle. They all help us to feel safer. Ironically, as we start to work with them, though, we can feel less safe because many of us have got used to experiencing life as unsafe and we're already armored up, ready to go. And if we have experiences that help us slow down, it can feel unsafe. So we do it gradually, we do it slowly. The most important of all of those rhythms that I mentioned is the circadian rhythm. Circadian, circa means about a, dian means a day. It's your rhythms of your body over a day. Electricity is so like infinitesimally new in terms of evolution. Our ability to have light all night beyond campfires and to do all the things we do with electricity, we've really messed with our circadian rhythm, not to mention our whole work ethic and social media, screens into the night, all the things. And it's, I think, one of the most important things that many of us miss when we're thinking life's getting a bit pressurized right now. My clients will know well, I talk about sleep a lot, and there's a few of you here, and I thank you for joining us. But for those of you that haven't spent much time thinking about it, sleep is the piece de resistance of the mental health experience, as far as I'm concerned. When that's off, everything's going to go off. All the other rhythms work out of that. So in the course, we talk about those run over concurrently over the 8 weeks or so. But the main lesson for each course, the first 3 weeks are about the body, and this is the same as how even if you don't sign up for the course, I want you to think about your own healing journey or your own journey of progression. The first 3 weeks are all about the body, understanding how do I tune into the body, what's really going on inside of my body, and there's this great teaching called polyvagal theory, which really explains the evolution of the nervous system and the 3 states that we predictably go into, which is ventral vagal, when I feel calm, connected, rested, sympathetic nervous system, when I'm fight or flight, when I'm getting really activated, and dorsal vagal, when I'm shutting down and checking out. Each one of these has an evolutionary reason why they're there. And we all predictably go to one or more of these at different times in our life. So being able to recognize how and why I go into these and how to bring myself home, that's tuning the body. That's the first 3 weeks. It's essentially come home. That's what it's about. The next 3 weeks, and this is, on your own journey, you can explore, is about the mind. The body and mind are infused, but it's useful to talk about them as separate things. And in the mind, we often Many people will come to me with a kind of notion of what the fuck is wrong with me? Why is all this, what's wrong with me? Why is all this going on? And as we explore their story, everyone starts to see there's nothing wrong with me. There's stuff that's happened to me. It's kind of a bit of a cliche in therapeutic circles. There's nothing wrong with you. There's stuff that's happened to you. But this is what we explore in the mind one. It's like, what are the forces that shaped you as the human being you are? Your family, your culture, your community, your institutions that you were part of, all the different experiences you had to really learn about your story. And as we learn about our story, we start to learn what isn't personal and what can I leave in the past and what can I work with to change my present? Because either my story owns me, that is stuff happened in the past, I don't want to fucking talk about it, it feels horrible, just leave it in the past. Ugh. And so I live my life basically running from the past. My past owns me in that case. But as I start to turn towards it, as I start to really feel into the past, I start to own my story. I can tell my story. I'm never going to change what happened, but I can start to tell my story without the charge. I can start to tell my story without the shame, without the frustration, the resentment, whatever the thing is, or without the forgetting necessarily. And I can start to remember, oh, wow, stuff actually happened or didn't happen, depending. And so I start to own that, not to villainize parents, not to villainize anyone in particular, but to contextualize so that I can really understand, why am I the way that I am? Why do I have the idiosyncrasies that I have? Why do I have those weird little things that I do that my friends don't do? I wish I could change that. And I can start to understand, or I can start to appreciate the strengths. And the last bit of the mind is we really look at non-ordinary states of consciousness and how we can elicit state changes through a whole range of different things, many of which you will have heard of before and some of which you won't. And we go into these non-ordinary states of consciousness, exploring how can you facilitate experiences yourself, ideally drug-free, but there is psychedelics in there as one of the journeys, but not that I facilitate that, talking about it, but there's so many other things that you can change your state without taking any substances that we talk about. And then the final three, so we got the body, we got the mind, and then we got relationships. The final of the trilogy that I encourage you all to really look at is relationships. And if the body is the tuning the instrument and the mind is learning your standards, learning your scales, learning all the different keys and the different kind of music you want to play, relationships are where we go and jam in the music of life. And not everyone plays harmonically or in tune. You know, some people, it's quite difficult to jam with them. And so we have our loved ones around us and we have the way that we are around us. So in relationships, we go really deep into, what do I want in my relationships? Are all of my relationships healthy? What am I doing in them? How do I deal with conflict? Many of us shy away from conflict, but how do I lean in? Some people love conflict, but many of us shy away. And how do I lean in healthy ways? How do I start to wield relationship to benefit me and those around me? And how do I bring the best of me into any given relationship or minimize the harm of the other relationships? And some harmful relationships we can't get rid of. I get that. And some we can. So we got these three in the trilogy, and the last session is the integration piece of that. Many mental health practitioners focus a lot on the mind. And I do, I focus a lot on the mind. But I think if we don't focus on the body first, we're missing a huge chunk of what not only influences our mental health, but underpins it. You know what it's like if I don't know, you're feeling bad, if you've eaten the wrong thing, if you haven't slept, if you haven't taken care of all the little things in your body, you're going to be off key. Your mental health is going to be out of tune. And so to really have the opportunity to audit, to reflect in the yin way, and then to activate, to change something in the yang way can be very, very powerful to start to change how you experience yourself. And importantly, treat yourself like the friend you deserve to be. And, you know, I think they're both important because the yin approach the yin approach of being aware, of listening on its own is so passive. It's useful, but without action, it's kind of pointless in a way. In my opinion, you might disagree with me. The yang on its own, just action without insight, is just mindless drone movement. Just do the thing, do the thing. And I'm probably going to be driven by running from the past. When I bring the two in synergy together, I can really start to make huge changes in my life. So look, that's the end of today's formal talk. I'm open to questions. If you need to go, I understand. If anyone wants to ask any questions or offer any reflections, you're welcome. I can hang around for another 10 minutes or 15 minutes if you wish. And maybe I just invite you to check in with your body. What are you feeling right now? You don't need to share that with me, just share it with yourself. Sensation, emotion, thoughts, and impulses.
Aaron, I'd just like to say thank you very much for sharing everything that you've shared with us today. And
Thanks.
I can very much relate to the need to, yeah, cultivate curiosity and make friends with yourself. And I think I see a lot of understanding and yin, as you call it. And I think what I need to do is activate more yang and take more action.
Mm.
Yeah. So, yeah, thanks for inspiring and inviting and sharing. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Steph. And I wonder if I might ask you, is there an action you might take in the coming minutes, hours, or days to help you orient yourself in a yang direction more?
Well, I've been thinking a lot about cleaning up my property and spending a lot of time thinking about it. Yeah, so I need to get out and push the mower, and I've I've neglected my own property for the last couple of years while I've been involved with other situations. So yeah, I find myself home alone more now, and yeah, just reintegrating myself into that journey. Yeah, so
Okay.
yeah. CBT, I've already been looking at and involving myself with some CBT therapy.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, more action.
Great. All right. Thanks, Steph.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to bail too, Aaron. But yeah, really appreciate that, man. And I like what Steph was saying about the yang, and I feel that. Ironically, for me, getting off social media is going to be a thing, and that's how I heard about your thing today. So it's like, there's always
Yeah.
there's always good and bad, but I
Right.
think I think for me, the doom scrolling, having that I've given up addiction after 25 years and been sober for a year and a half, the doom scrolling and that what you mentioned about checking notifications, it's kind of infuriating. And I've been spending probably the last 3 days negotiating my exit message on Facebook, which I've seen several times. Oh, I'm leaving. It's this, it's that, it's too much, and you can contact me on Messenger. And I'm now in a position where I've got to write my own one and go, okay, because I've seen the people do it, and I support them saying they're going to do it, but then I also see them 2 weeks later, if that, posting again and
Mm.
interacting. So
Yeah.
my yang is just going to be get off it. And also, as you've taught me in the past, looking at that moment when I decide to scroll, when I decide to go into doom scroll, or
Yeah.
streaming services, TV, etc. Taking a moment before that, and for me, doing breath work is a bit of that action too. And I do activated breathing every night, even when I don't want to. And that's the other kicker is just discipline, and when it's easier not to, and that's part of addiction as well as for me, and for me personally, is sort of like taking the easy way out. And as you mentioned earlier, it's a very long, protracted experience. It's not necessarily easier, but in the moment, for some reason, programming says, yeah, that'll do it. But it gets me nowhere. So yeah, I'm signing off anyway, man. Thank you so much. Gratitude.
Thank you for coming, Shannon. Really appreciate it.
And I'll see
Appreciate
you
it.
soon, brother.
Thank you so
Peace.
much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I did have a thought, being a I couldn't help notice the links with being a garden myself, and a quote I kept thinking about in my head, um, referring to being, or leaning into being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Um, I think you sort of delved into that or something similar. I
Yes.
heard a quote. Um, it's called sort of reaching into that side of us that we don't really like or want to accept, and it's called hugging the cactus. And if I think you think real deep into that, and you think of how fucking painful it would be to hug a cactus, um, but the where I want to go in my life is when I get to that point where I am uncomfortable and I lean into my vices and I hit that peak in my struggle, I can't backpedal and um, find a new path. So I get stuck in being uncomfortable, and it's kind of my cap. Uh, I can't find my way out of being uncomfortable, so I can't find solutions to the problem, if you know what I mean. And then I will always revert back to um, how I've dealt with being uncomfortable. I don't know if any of that made sense.
Yeah, like you're getting caught in loops when you're in the uncomfortable.
Exactly, yes. And I can't find, I'm looking for the exit sign and I can't find it. So I'm stuck in the same room over and over again, and I'm just coming up with the same solutions over and over again. And um, I, yeah, I've I've obviously gotten quite comfortable hugging the cactus, I guess. Um,
Yeah, that's a really interesting perspective. And I suppose some of us go to dorsal vagal, that kind of more shut down place, and some of us more go to sympathetic. And so for someone who's more comfortable in the uncomfortable in that way, which I do hear what you're saying, stimulation is usually a useful thing to circuit break. For someone like me, I don't need more stimulation because I'm already hyperstimulated as it is. For someone such as yourself, you probably need more stimulation and
yeah,
curiosity in the stimulation.
yeah. So yeah, um, I guess I really want to know how to rely on my curiosity to um, to find different paths, I guess.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
instead of relying on the, the the path I already know, the roads I've already travelled, you know.
Yeah.
But I
And that's
really,
where it's really good to have a system,
yeah,
something that you can plug into. And whether it's a religious system that works for you, whether it's something like AA, whether it's the course that I'm running, whether it's basically some kind of turnkey solution where you can plug in and go, or it could be yoga, a yoga journey or whatever, right? Where you've got a good teacher who can teach you all the different things. That there are systems and methods to hold you of a body of people who have spent a lot of time thinking about this kind of thing and working with it, that you don't need to reinvent the wheel,
yeah, like a
you know?
network,
Sorry?
like a network.
Like a network, but a very
And
specific network
yeah,
where people are inquiring and actively working on their stuff in some way.
yeah, and using it as a resource uh,
Exactly.
for
So then you
you, for
bring
them.
your curiosity, almost the curiosity is the key, and the system is the car and the engine that you're bringing the
Yes.
curiosity to.
Thanks, Aaron.
Mm, thank
Appreciate
you,
it.
Carl.
Thank you.
But you can start with just your body and getting super curious with your body in those moments, as I know you do anyway.
I try.
Yeah.
Thanks
And
for your help and your sage advice, wisdom. I
mhm.
appreciate it all.
Thank you, Carl. All right. So is there any more questions or should we close up there? Once again, I want to thank everyone. Really, I'm really genuinely touched that you would give up an hour of your Sunday evening, trusting that there's going to be some value for you here and then staying the entire time, each of you. So thank you so much. I'm really honored. Um, I'll be sending out an email with the recording of this and also with a link to the course if you're interested in it, or if you have any friends or family that might be interested in it, please feel free to share. If you've got any questions, please do email me. Um, yeah, I wish you all the best on your journeys and look forward to seeing you all again sometime, I hope.
Cool. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you so much.
Cheers, Aaron. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Hey, mate.